Just as Marie Antoinette was rumored to have said, qu'ils mangeront de la brioche, or let them eat cake,
Well, cake, yeah.
back in 1840, so in 2025, the German administration had its Laisse Eis essen moment.
Yes.
That means let them eat ice
Ice
cream.
cream, yes.
Okay. It may not have been the exact Antoinette quote, nor the exact quote I've given, but rather the sentiment of the idea. The sentiment, of course, which isn't exclusive to Germany or to France, by the way, is the disconnect between the ruling classes and of the people at large. Yeah. So Germany finds itself in somewhat of a depression, an economic depression, I mean, right?
Yeah.
And we've covered this in previous podcasts that three consecutive recessions is equal three consecutive quarters of a
Yeah.
recession is equal to a depression.
Mm.
But of course, the D word should not be spoken in Deutschland. But I digress.
Mm.
Germany finds itself with 12,000 companies going bust in the first 6 months of this year, and many more on the brink because of the green policy and sanctions on Russia pushing up the price of energy, making it the fourth most expensive in the world, which is the driving force behind any industry.
Mm.
So, with price inflation creeping up because of the energy costs and many Germans struggling to live because of this, the German administration has decided to draft a law which will oblige ice cream parlours to sell cheap ice cream to poor kids.
Okay.
So, there will be a separate ice cream for the kids who can't afford the full priced ice cream. Of course, this is wrong. This is wrong on so many levels.
I was going to say, yeah.
Firstly, no kid can afford an ice cream. It's the parents that pays for them, right?
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, uh, the ice cream man in his van stopped on our street. Not every kid had sixpence for a
Mm.
cone, let alone a shilling for a 99.
Mm.
It was very hit and miss for us kids back then. If our parents felt flush, we got an ice cream.
Mm.
If not, and times were hard, we didn't. And more often than not, times were hard.
Yeah.
So Germany is wanting to facilitate poorer families to buy ice cream instead of staples, instead of food, you
Yeah.
know, which have all increased in price. What determines the price of an ice cream is the price of the product the establishment buys it for, plus
Mm.
their overheads
Yes.
and expenses, which will lead them to the price they sell it for to the public.
Yeah.
To try and stifle this free market flow, the administration is going to force a retailer into cutting their margins and perhaps lead them into failure. Right? Will companies make a substandard product to serve the financially unwashed so they can combat this? Or will they sell at a loss because the German administration refuses to see that their policies, rather than working to expand the economy, are shrinking the economy, bringing the whole capoodle down?
Yep.
Either way, though this scheme, the government is trying to divide the people of the nation by having the poorer people opt for the other queue, the queue that goes to the cheap stuff,
Yep.
to get an all too humble ice cream. So, whatever were they thinking?
Thinking. Thinking. Yeah.
Off you go on that one.
I was just say thinking you're giving politicians and people in administration.
Far too much credit.
Yeah. When in recent years have you seen any evidence of anybody actually thinking anything through? Yeah. Uh,
Well, these are the Germans.
well, we could argue that Germans have been ridiculous for 100 years, in effect, really, when you think about it. Yeah. Sorry, Germans. Many Germans listening. I have worked with Germans, and yes, they are okay people. The people are. Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. the people that might have to go and buy the cheaper ice creams. That is, um, yeah, it's. I mean, I mean, yes, wrong on so many different levels. Yes, I mean, like you said, the distinctions, the cheap ice cream, the expensive, but you get that in supermarkets anyway. I mean, you go to a certain chain in the UK, you can buy your cheap tub, or you can buy the deluxe good stuff.
An average ice cream, a scoop of ice cream in an ice cream parlor in Germany
Yeah,
is about €3, three and
yeah,
a half euros,
yeah.
and the government is wanting to sell the cheap stuff for €1 a scoop.
Well, um, okay. Other than the real sort of real, if you like, good stuff. Yeah, normally, I mean, ice cream is produced quite cheaply, but the manufacturers are probably off, or supermarkets, or wherever you buy your ice cream, are probably very close on their margins already.
That's
Yeah,
right.
that's how a lot of these stores that
Well,
they sell in bulk. In
we
which
talk
case,
about parlors here.
yeah,
We, having worked or having had an unintended partnership in or part owner of one of these said parlors or cafes and all that, I can tell you it is hard. It's hard work to make a profit. yeah,
You're lucky if you do, quite honestly, or anything that's substantial anyway. Certainly, anything. I mean, yeah, it's making a profit, and then you've got to pay for other bills, like you say. I mean, you've got your rent and everything else, expenses and everything else on top. And we all know that rents are going up disproportionately to across Europe, disproportionately to anything else. Um, I really don't think anyone in government circles has ever studied basic economics. Yeah. I can advise a couple of videos I've seen online for children explaining economics on children that I think they should at least watch about expenditure. Yeah. Versus, yeah, how you run a successful business. Um, Cash flow is king when you're running a business. It really is. What do you put in the product? What do you buy? I mean, you're not going to make well, you may be making the ice cream on site. I don't know. Some people do, possibly. It's going to be expensive whichever way you do it because of the products that go into it. Think of the products that go into it that have to be delivered by fuel, things needing fuel. I Can you buy
I, I,
local?
I just want to know what made the German government think of ice cream. It's something that's so superfluous in our day-to-day lives.
Well,
I don't know what I don't know what makes them think that by having a cheap ice cream, it's going to make the economy better.
maybe it's to do with the children's psychology. It keeps the children are happy. The parents don't worry so much. That could be some weird way of thinking. I don't know. I mean, who's the biggest consumer of ice cream? Yeah,
Going into a separate queue to get the cheap stuff.
no idea. I mean, that would sound like German efficiency. Sie will queue here.
Yeah.
Ye have money,
Well,
she will queue here.
I remember at school, if the kids got free school dinners,
Yeah,
they got dinner tickets
yeah,
to have the lunch, and some of them were ridiculed
yeah.
because the
Well,
parents weren't paying for their lunches.
I don't remember that happening. It
I
was,
I
yeah,
I know that children can be quite brutal at times.
yeah. I don't think we were really that aware of it. We knew about. I mean, I've probably come from a time that actually I probably had free dinners, and then we started to pay. But yes, some people had the tickets they just gave to the quietly gave to the person at the end. We knew who they were.
Yeah.
I can't remember any of them actually being ridiculed for it, but maybe a slightly different
Yeah.
time or
Well, you went to school 10 years after I did,
yeah.
so
I mean,
times have
uh,
changed.
yeah. I mean, things run in cycles like that, but um, it's a, it's a. I'm just trying to, yeah, I'll get my head around it now. Okay, ice cream, maybe it's an experiment. What else can we do with this? Um, I mean, there was the talk during the pandemic, anyone that wasn't wearing a mask was going to be segregated off for anyone else, into the bad boy queue, as it were, bad person queue. Um, I don't know. All I can think of is possibly an experiment to see if they can do it. um, what feedback, or they try to wreck the economy deliberately to make it so that everyone then worships the European Union to save each other.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
I don't know what Davils has done to the German government, but to try and cut back their margin of profit. I mean, I don't know why they didn't do it with something like rice or something like, bread or, a staple that everybody, the whole family uses because there's no such thing as a poor kid.
no,
What what there exists are poor parents.
yeah, but possibly you can tinker with ice cream easier than you can tinker with other products. Um, I mean, yeah, well, we're not. But the other side of it all is cheaper ice cream, nutrition. I mean, you're gonna have an increase in diabetes and everything else if somebody goes and starts buying ice cream. Yeah, potentially.
Well,
I don't know. I
well,
mean, yeah, I'm grabbing of things here. Yeah, but yeah, health issues, obesity. I mean, if you're trying to encourage people to have ice cream, i.e., kids, really you're stabling up. I mean, for years we've been trying to get kids to eat more fruit and vegetables. Yeah, for their health reasons. Um,
well, the concept, the German government's concept, is not necessarily to make an incentive for people to buy ice cream because these cheap ice creams are only for the poor people.
well, yeah, but I mean,
And it's so that these poor people apparently won't have to miss out on having an ice cream. But to me, it's something that's so childish.
well, that's what I'm trying to make. It can only be for kids and not necessarily for adults. I mean, okay, we're in a supermarket sometimes we fancy an ice cream or something, but very rarely. Um, it's a yeah shopping mall. Yeah, we have shopping malls here and things like this. Okay. Um, Yeah, it does seem a very, very strange move.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, if you haven't got any other products that they've mentioned, I mean, yeah, like you say, I was just trying to think, well, why ice cream to start with, which is a bit strange. Why not, as you say? But then if you're reducing the price of everything else, I mean, you've got supermarkets that try and reduce the cost of everything
Of course,
somehow.
of course.
Um, so
When you oblige somebody to put the price down, that's when the rot sets in. Because
and
it's a free market, you make your product as best as you can, and
yeah.
you sell it as cheap as you can.
Competitiveness, yeah,
That's
being
right, of course.
competitive. Ele-
But
ele- yeah,
if you're making your ice cream or your product and that you're being forced to sell it at a loss, then it just
hang,
doesn't make sense.
hang on. Are we talking about a German administration giving direct orders? Haven't we been here before somewhere? Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong. I've got a series of books behind me here. That kind of explains what that led to. Um, Again, yeah, you caught me a bit cold there, so to speak. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm not even eating the ice cream. Yeah, the logic behind it. I would be very interested. I mean, yes, I know you go in depth, and if you can't see any reasoning behind it, I'm as I sort of said, unless it's to keep children happy, it's a psychological thing. That maybe if the kids are happy that they've got their ice cream, then they leave the parents alone about starving to death almost. Um, I think everyone's grasping at straws in Germany,
Oh yes.
um,
Oh yes.
because I mean they've pushed themselves into their own cul-de-sac, so to speak.
Mm.
They were warned about this. I mean, okay, it's a perfect storm of a lot of different things happening at the same time, but that's what governments are meant to be dealing with or anticipating to a certain point of what happens if this all goes wrong. Yeah. Um, at some point something's going to go wrong. People say we didn't expect a war. Yes, but you should have been expecting something. Yeah. When you do project management, you expect something to go wrong. You don't quite know what. You're always on the lookout. Um, yeah, the best project managers are the most cynical ones. Yeah, we have risk registers and everything else. What could go wrong? How do we mitigate it? a war happening in Europe, Eastern Europe, supply chain and everything else. What's the way around this? Um, but on the other hand, this is another problem. Very few people in government have actually had any experience of real world.
Yeah,
This is what
well,
I'm beginning to find more and more. Yeah.
as long as the supply chains of ice cream are constant, then I can imagine that the Germans will be very, very happy.
I just thought Willy Wonka and all that, trying to think of a Willy Wonka connection here, win the golden ticket. Um,
Well, I'm sure there is a connection.
you mean Willy Wonka's based in some sort of reality? Yeah. Um, yeah, I really I'm struggling here, man. I mean, yes, I think get prepared for more ridiculousness to come out as people panicking or trying to do things, or even is it actually a social experiment? They've been running these weird experiments on us in recent years. Well, probably,
Well, look,
yeah,
you just need to look at the uh, one in, one out project of the British government, and it strikes me that these governments are just trying to do something.
yeah.
They need to be seen to be doing something,
Mm.
and this might be one of those moments of Germany rushing an idea through without actually thinking about it.
Well, it sounds like somebody's had a brainstorming session and somebody's come up with that. And for some reason, they've decided to go for it, just to, like you say, just to do something. Oh, everybody likes ice cream. Yeah, we'll give them the ice cream. Yeah, but it's the fact then you're telling the manufacturers they've got to lose money, and if
Or cut costs, an
you're
awful lot of costs,
well,
which normally that the cutting of the costs, it affects the customers in the end.
well, of course it does. Okay, you either go for well, okay, a lesser product, which okay, what's ice cream? Rice, really? I mean, ice cream needs energy to do because it's the process of freezing it,
Reason
the
it, everything.
nitrogen freezing it and everything else, um, which again is energy. You need electricity, needs other things, you need to buy the nitrogen in, which is not cheap. I think it's nitrogen they use, isn't it?
Don't mention gas to the Germans.
For so many different reasons.